Hey everybody. In this video, I really want you guys to pay attention and watch the whole thing all the way through because we're going to go over a lot. I'm going to walk you through how to make one of your rocks. All right. I'm orbiting around just a quick example that I put together, and I'm going to show you how to make something like this. Okay. So I'm just going to go quickly through it. We're going to dive right in. And I first want to start a Rhino file, make sure the properties are all set, right, with your inches in your model and layout. Make sure the units are inches. Very good. What I decided I wanted to do is we'll go into shaded mode. I just quickly drew a circle and a triangle and a rectangle, right? And I took these and I typed extrude curve, and I just kind of extruded 3 objects straight up, right? Um, it can be any type of object. I found that simple shapes are super cool. So what you can then do is start to just kind of angle these together, rotate them however you want, in any different direction. Just get them all intersecting, right? And you're going to want to play around with this. You're going to end up making 6 different iterations of this, but you want to have an intersection where all 3 intersect, right? So I found through trial and error one that I liked. So I have these over here, right? I have these 3 just simple extrusions. What I can do is highlight all 3, go over to Boolean intersection, hit it, and just hit enter. And what that does is this is the object that is created when this is the intersection of those 3 objects. So this is where basically those 3 objects are all overlapping. So you get this really interesting little shape. What do we do with this? So we already made our textures in the last video, right? So what we need to do is take this object, and first we want to scale it so it's within a 4" by 4" by 4" cube. So if we go ahead and type bounding box, hit enter, we get this box that surrounds our object, right? So then if we go down here, turn on grid snap for this, make a cube that's 4 by 4 by 4, and hit enter. We see this rock is kind of huge in comparison, right? So we're going to go ahead and line this up here. We're going to type scale, not scale 1D, but scale. Grab this in our longest direction and just scale it down. And we're just making sure that this object will fit inside this. And honestly, what we could do is we could even rotate this a little bit. So if I delete that and I hide this, I can even start to angle this in such a way that it may better fit within a 4 by 4 area. Let's rock like this. Go ahead and type bounding box again. And then we'll redraw our 4 by 4 cube. You can start to hopefully get a little more fluid in your commands. Right, it's 4 tall. Grab that interior box, deselect by holding Control or exterior box. Go ahead and line this up. Scale. You just want to get this as close to 4" cubed as possible. So we're going to grab that, make it a little bigger. That looks good. Okay, so we have this rock. What do we do? What do we do with this rock? We are going to go ahead and when we select it, so there's all these different tabs. You have the individual properties of this rock and then like the properties of the whole file, right? So what we can do is, I've already done this, but I'm gonna just go ahead and delete it to walk you through it again. This tab right here is called materials. These are our textures. And so what we can do is we can hit this plus button, go down to picture, click picture, and pull up go to wherever you saved your texture that we made in our last video. Go ahead and grab that, and it brings it in, right? So what we can do is we can copy this rock a few times just because I want to show you guys a couple different things. So what we can do is we can grab these and we can go to this texture and right click, hit assign to objects. Nothing shows up. Oh no, what do we do? Well, textures only show up in rendered mode. So if you go to your rendered mode, you have this texture has been applied to these rocks, right? But before we do anything, just click on one of them, go to the properties tab, and then under here, go ahead and click the texture mapping. All of these different, these are different surface mappings, right? So try some of these. I think right now these are all box mapped. You can set this one to planar mapping, so it will prompt you to hit enter a couple times. We'll take this one, we'll give it spherical mapping, hit enter a couple times. And this one we'll do cylindrical mapping. Just to we just want to see what we're looking at. So we have different ways to map this texture. So already I'm seeing that our planar mapping, it doesn't really this isn't exactly what we're looking for. You can see it's kind of stretching vertically the texture on those vertical sides. This is potentially useful. This is like a spherical mapping. This is our box mapping that I believe we had started with, and this actually looks pretty great. And this is our cylindrical mapping, and this is also usable, but definitely a little more maybe cylindrical. You could start to see some distortion happening at those moments. And it's really up to you to determine what you think looks best. I think I'm going to go with the box mapping. So I'm going to grab this. And what we want to do is we're going to unroll this surface, and we're going to make sure that our texture applies to our surface when it unrolls. So if I were to just unroll this, what would happen is, let me show you. So if I unroll this, oh, I am so sorry. If I were to unroll this, keep properties, yes, and I don't want to explode it. It will give me a texture that has been mapped onto this, right? But what you'll start to notice as you start to put this together is that this texture is not mapped the same way that it is on here. It's basically like the texture has just been applied to the flat object. So when you fold it, you're not going to get the same seams. So what you need to do is just go ahead and grab this, type bake. And it's basically going to have you save this as a bitmap file, right? So you can just name this texture bitmap, just wherever your project is saved. Go ahead and hit enter. Go ahead and hit 2048 by 2048. Hit OK. And then under our sorry. Oh, you want to go up top and where it says include edges, just hit no. And what that's going to do is it's going to add this second texture material in your texture library, right? And so this is a texture bitmap, and so it has basically mapped each edge, each face, what exactly shown on each face. So when you unroll it, it keeps each face with each texture. So we're going to drag that, just assign that to this object, or conversely, you can also just right click on it and assign to object. And so now when we take this, we can unroll surface. I'm going to say explode no and keep properties yes. And that's because I'm just kind of eyeballing this. It doesn't look like there's many errors, if any at all. So I'm going to hit enter and see what it gave me. And so it looks like we have a little bit of a glitch happening here, right? This is really interesting. And there is a way to fix this. So what we want to do is go over to our properties tab right here. And while this is selected, this box in the far right, so the UV editor, if you go ahead and click that, go into top view for this. We'll go make this rendered mode. Go ahead and just click anywhere, kind of draw a rectangle. And so what we can start to see is some of our textures came in perfect, right? And other ones did not. So it looks like this, to me, looks like it is supposed to go over here. This right here is supposed to go over here. This is just kind of our UV editor, and we can start to see that correct itself over here. There's still a little bit of a error on this one, it looks like. And so eventually we're going to ask you to kind of embrace some of these glitches, but this is how you would fix that. Just in the event that you would need to. There's just a couple places where these don't quite line up. So we can just like quickly and easily adjust these. This can be kind of time consuming depending on how complicated your object is, but this looks pretty good to me. Looks like just that triangle now. It's a little editing, little TLC right here. And you'll see that these kind of just barely are smaller than the actual textures, and that's by design. This looks good. Okay, so what we want to do now is hit apply right here on the far right, and that should save our changes. And it looks like we're getting some glitches. And so this is what we talk about in our brief, that you want at least one of your rocks to have a glitch like this. This is just something that we're going to have to deal with from time to time. In the next video, I'm going to talk about really diving in and editing those glitches. But right here, what's really nice is that everything unrolled perfectly. So I don't have to explode it, but if for some reason things were overlapping, what I can do is like I can explode this and like have them separate and just know that I need them to be one solid thing when I get them all nice and cut. But obviously I don't have to explode these because they came out good. And the glitch I think will be very interesting when we start to roll this together. So really what we're going to do is just kind of draw an 11 by 17 box around this. Just gonna go ahead and center this. And that's where I'm going to leave you guys for now. The next video, I'm going to show you how to add registration dots, as well as making the line work companion for this, and how this is going to work and how we're going to use it on the Zund. So stay tuned. Keep up the great work, guys. It's coming along.